Hi there. Successful outcomes are determined just as much by when we do things as by how we do them. Welcome to the summary of Daniel Pink's book, When: The Scientific Secrets of Perfect Timing. The key takeaway from this book is that the outcome of most human actions is influenced by three elements: our biorhythms, our perception of beginnings, midpoints, and endings, and the way we synchronize with others. When is a book about timing, and the author makes it clear right from the get-go that he views this more of an art than science. The self-proclaimed goal of this book is to provide useful guidance on working smarter and living a better life. Nearly all living things have something called a circadian rhythm, or a biological clock that regulates restorative processes. For us humans, the most widely recognized circadian rhythm is the sleep-wake cycle. Multiple studies reached similar conclusions regarding our moods during a typical day. There's a peak, a trough, and a rebound. People start their days well and peak around noon. The afternoon brings a significant dip in mood and energy levels, which the author refers to as the trough, followed by a rise in disposition during the evening. Based on this data, it would appear that mornings are a good time to get things done, but there's a caveat. Not all types of problems can be tackled efficiently during the first part of the day. Imagine a sales rep working on their end-of-month report. Mornings are great for solving math and analytical problems and for focus tasks that require increased attention, so they'd be well advised to start crunching those numbers first thing in the morning. But let's pretend the numbers aren't all that great. Let's also imagine that the monthly report has a section dedicated to future actions and suggestions for improvement. Our sales rep may want to hold off on filling in that section first thing in the morning because it appears that insight problems, which are best solved by thinking outside the box, require less vigilance and fewer inhibitions, so they're better tackled in the afternoon. Not all people are the same when it comes to circadian rhythm. You may be familiar with the expressions early bird and night owl used to describe chronotypes, or personal patterns of circadian rhythm. Night owls experience the stages in reverse order, starting with recovery, then the trough, and finally the peak. Though larks and owls are the most referred to chronotypes, most people fall between these two categories. Chronotypes are genetically inherited, and apparently people born in the winter and autumn are more likely to be early birds or larks, while in contrast, people born in the spring and summer are more likely to be owls. Age is also an essential factor. Most of us start as early birds during childhood, turn into owls as teenagers, and slowly turn back into larks as we grow older. Since the afternoon is our downtime, it deserves a closer look. The afternoon can potentially impair our professional and ethical judgment regardless of chronotype. The author invokes studies that found afternoons to be the most dangerous time of the day if you're a patient in a hospital, a driver, or a student taking an exam. However, there are studies, which are not mentioned in this book, that are not aligned with this theory. For example, work-related accidents resulting in injury or death happen primarily in the early morning. Now, I'm not saying the author is wrong, but it's a good idea to research multiple sources before concluding on any relevant topic. Now, back to the book. In the second chapter, the author explores ways in which we can prevent the perils of the trough. And it all starts with taking a break. Even a short break is better than no break at all, and a 5-minute walk beats sitting on a couch during your break. If you want to reduce stress and improve your mood, you should spend your breaks with other people, preferably outdoors. Most importantly, make sure you fully detach yourself from all work-related matters while on a break. Checking your emails on your phone in the dining room is not a good use of your break time. Now, some of us believe breakfast to be the most important meal of the day, but recent research suggests otherwise. Given how perilous afternoons are, lunch takes on a new significance. A lunch break can make a great impact on your day if it meets two criteria: autonomy and detachment. You must exercise some control over how you spend your lunch break while completely leaving your work aside. A nap is a good example of detachment. Aside from giving you a much-needed afternoon boost, naps have a positive impact on cognitive performance and on mental health. The ideal duration of a nap is between 10 and 20 minutes. If you pass the 20-minute mark, it sends you into something called sleep inertia, making it much more challenging to wake up. Pink introduces us to the nappuccino, the rather counterintuitive practice of having a cup of coffee right before taking a nap. This will help you wake up more refreshed, as 15 to 20 minutes is just the amount of time caffeine needs to enter your bloodstream. A lunch break spent eating or walking is an example of a vigilance break, which helps you avoid making mistakes on the job or in your daily life by defocusing your attention. A nap is a restorative break, helping you enhance performance. Both types of breaks help us do better during the afternoon. Everything has a beginning, a midpoint, and an end. People tend to use temporal landmarks to guide them through life. The way we perceive each of these stages has a significant impact on how we behave. The third chapter teaches us the 3 principles of successful beginnings: start right, start again, and start together. There's a list of 86 days that appear to be particularly effective for getting off to a good start. It includes the first day of each month, Mondays, birthdays, anniversaries, and so on. People use temporal landmarks for fresh starts. There are 2 types of temporal landmarks: social, such as New Year's Day or any legal holiday, and personal, such as your birthday or wedding anniversary, if you can remember it. Social landmarks allow you to share a new start with other people, or, in other words, it enables people to start together. Sometimes you need to start again because things just didn't work out the first time around. For example, it's been documented that starting your career in a bad economy will have long-lasting effects on your earnings, for as long as 10 years after landing your first job. But that doesn't mean you can't start again, maybe by switching to another job or another industry altogether. Beginnings are memorable, but midpoints are usually kind of murky. People remember their wedding day much better than the 154th dinner they shared as a family. Hitting the midpoint of a project, or of life in general, appears to hurt our motivation and well-being. But on some occasions, midpoints can motivate us. Daniel Pink calls these 2 effects the slump and the spark. In terms of well-being, people are at their lowest in their late 40s and early 50s. A possible reason for this dip is that we have very high expectations in youth and very low expectations in old age. When we believe we're halfway through something, it generates an uh-oh effect, as in, uh-oh, we're out of time, let's do something about it. This is true for both individuals and groups. The best hope for turning a slump into a spark is to use midpoints as a wake-up call and imagine you're just a tiny bit behind on your projections, just enough to spark your motivation. After a midpoint comes the inevitable ending. Endings impact us in 4 predictable ways. They energize, encode, edit, and elevate. Knowing we're near the end of something gives us a boost of energy to try and achieve more, sort of like a final sprint. For example, people are much more likely to run a marathon during their last year of a decade, age 29, 39, or 49. As for encoding, we value shorter lives that end on an upswing more than long lives that end on a downswing. This is something called the James Dean effect. We judge or assign value to how something has ended, whether it be someone's life, a personal experience, or a politician's term in office. The most powerful indicator of a standing US president's chances of re-election is the state of the economy during their last year in office. This encoding effect helps us make sense of things by simplifying how we evaluate very complex matters. Endings also makes us edit out what we don't need. As we grow older, we modify our social network and only keep in touch with a select few people, and this is mostly by choice. Finally, we prefer endings that elevate. We need closing conclusions that have meaning. That's why we like to hear the bad news before the good news when given the option. Human ability to survive and thrive depends on how well we coordinate with other people. Instruments that measure time helped us come together by giving us a common reference. This brought about more predictability as we started aligning our actions to public time, as opposed to having multiple standards for determining how time flows. Groups that depend on synchronization for success must synchronize on 3 different levels: to the boss, to the tribe, and to the heart. The leader of a group sets the pace for the group's actions. The boss acts as an external standard that everyone else needs to follow. After syncing with the boss, the group members need to sync with one another. Group coordination comes in 3 forms: codes, garb, and touch. These simplify communication, increase loyalty, and enable better group performance. Finally, syncing to the heart means that we should feel good when we do something by the group's standards. Doing good also enhances synchronization. As a parting thought, the last chapter of this book concludes that we behave more responsibly when the future feels more closely connected to our current selves. This wraps up the summary of When, the Scientific Principles of Perfect Timing by Daniel Pink. Make sure to pick up the book and do a deeper dive into these concepts. It's well worth the time. Thanks, and I'll catch you in the next one.